Tuesday's election wasn't about me. It's about what kind of world we want to live in. I told you Kamala Harris would be our next president. I wasn't wrong. A majority of American voters were. I accept the results of this election, but I don't accept Donald Trump's vision for this country, nor do I accept his vision for the Middle East, Ukraine, and our border. And I don't accept American voters accepting it. I may have gotten the election wrong, but this is what I do know. I do know healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. I do know there is no crisis at the border, that the migrants must be protected, not demonized. They must be treated as a gift to our nation. I do know the only way we can prop up our social safety net and our economy is by allowing more people into this country, no matter their color or language they speak. I do know Vladimir Putin, Viktor Orban, and Benjamin Netanyahu are not our friends. I do know we are a pluralistic society that celebrates differences, whether it's our individual sexuality, complexion, or religious beliefs. I do know ExxonMobil is evil, and unless we get off fossil fuel immediately, we will all die. I do know lying, bullying, cheating, and grifting is wrong. I do know assault weapons are wrong. I do know abortion is between a woman and her doctor, that religion has no place in our public square, that billionaires must be taxed out of existence, corporate monopolies must be broken up, that every worker deserves union representation, and every citizen over the age of 18 should be allowed to vote. I do know love, forgiveness, nonviolence, and anger are the only solution. And I will continue to voice these immutable truths because I didn't get the election wrong, the voters did. And even though I read the wrong polls, I have nothing to apologize for. I refuse to apologize for still seeing good in the American people. I refuse to say I was wrong for still believing there are more of us than there are of them. I refuse to accept that the indecent outnumber the decent. I will accept the election results, but I will not accept gloom or despair. I'm proud of who we are and what we accomplished. The past 4 years have been some of the most uplifting in American history. Joe Biden and the Democrats passed the most progressive legislation since the Great Society, possibly the New Deal. Donald Trump was convicted this year in a Manhattan criminal court. 2 juries found him guilty this year of sexually assaulting and defaming E. Jean Carroll. Letitia James, this year, the New York State Attorney General, won a $500 million judgment against Trump, proving he ripped off lenders. Fonnie Willis, the district attorney in Fulton County, got Trump's mugshot, and several of his accomplices have already pled guilty and been disbarred. Jack Smith, the special counsel, got Trump indicted for mishandling classified documents and for election interference. 2 impeachments and the January 6th committee proved beyond any doubt that Donald Trump sparked an insurrection. Generals like Mark Milley and John Kelly spoke up and warned that Trump is a fascist. This was and continues to be an all-hands-on-deck moment, and the right people stepped up. Even Mike Pence, even Liz Cheney, even Dick Cheney, James Comey, Robert Mueller in his report said that Donald Trump obstructed justice. For 9 years, every step of the way, people have fought for our country, and they will continue to fight for it. Now is not the time for pointing fingers at ourselves. It's time for solidarity. We must remain united. Kamala Harris was an amazing candidate. Coach Walsh is a national treasure. Joe Biden is the greatest president of my lifetime. We must commit to resisting Donald Trump nonviolently while at the same time taking care of our most vulnerable, especially the migrants. We must challenge ICE in the courts. We must bear witness to their thuggish behavior, and we must fight to make sure every undocumented man, woman, and child isn't thrown out of this country. We must fight for the dreamers. We must fight to keep the migrants, the undocumented Americans. We must fight to keep them in our country. Where is your local ICE detention center? Find out. Stage protests. Write letters. This is no time to accept sadism or cruelty. Fear won't cut it. Exhaustion won't cut it. Donald Trump is planning to deport our neighbors. Business leaders do not want this. You saw the Republican governor of Ohio. You saw conservative Republican businessmen in Springfield, Ohio, defending the Haitian immigrants. There are good people, good Republicans in this country. We know mass deportation is not just sadistic. It's bad for our country, bad for business, bad for our social safety net, and bad for our soul. Bear witness. Contact your local religious and business leaders. Contact your Republican politicians. Do not allow these deportations. Republicans at the state and local level know these deportations will destroy not just innocent lives, but our economy and our decency. As the woman said, we're not going back. And when we fight, we win. There are still very good people in this country. Heroes are revealed to us each day. We can't protect ourselves unless we protect each other. Be a hero to just one person. Every day, be a hero to just one person. Fight the urge to retreat into yourself. Go to work for the Democratic Party because there's strength and safety in numbers. Go to work for the Democratic Party. Is the Democratic Party deeply flawed? Of course it is, because you haven't gone to work for it. I'll have much more to say later on in this show and in the weeks to come. I told you Kamala Harris would be our next president. I wasn't wrong. The voters were. Speaking truth, fighting for justice, equality, protecting the most vulnerable from sadistic bullies is never wrong. Kamala Harris says when we fight, we win. She's right. But when I say when we fight for each other, we are unstoppable. This is the mop-up for November 7th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City. At the end of the program, I'll provide a survival guide for the next 3 months. I have to take a break to mop my brow. Give me 30 seconds. Hi, is anybody still here? This is the mop-up for November 7th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City, and at the end of the program, I will provide us with a survival guide for the next 3 months. So, where am I? I see the glass as half full. There's good news. For example, Trump is accepting the results of the election, and there won't be another January 6th. That's good, right? More good news. Americans hate each other, and that's good news. We all hate each other. We're incapable of clicking our heels and marching in lockstep. We're all jealous and vindictive, and when our team wins, most of us feel we're not enjoying the spoils of our victory, and we turn on each other. You saw how the Republican Party governs when they gain control of the House. They feast upon themselves. So here's the secret to winning. Fight them, but don't fight with them. Do not engage with these people on a personal level. They are violent. Do not fight them in the gutter. That's where they live. Fight them in the corridors of power. Eye on the prize. Don't give them the fight they want. Now, don't give up on Elon Musk's Twitter, because it's good to know what they're thinking. But don't waste your energy fighting with people who are probably not even real. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who brought forth a RICO indictment against Donald Trump, along with 18 other co-defendants, was reelected to a second term on Tuesday. Take a good look at this woman, Fani Willis, daughter of a Black Panther. Her father went on to law school. He passed the bar exam, unlike Jim Jordan, and he produced a daughter who, unlike Jim Jordan, also passed the bar exam and made the President of the United States strike a pose for his mugshot. Look at Fani Willis. Now imagine my late mother saying to you what you would say to me. You're tired? You're scared? You feel like giving up? And then my mother would add, shame on you. Fani Willis does all that and you don't want to follow politics anymore? I don't know who you are because you're not my son. So look, I get it. We're all sad and depressed. Get over it. Reach out to other people and start phone banking. Start knocking on doors. Today, my sister phone banked all month, all of October for John Tester in Montana. He lost, but she said she would do it all over again. It was one of the greatest experiences of her life. Why? Because she met great people, including the actress Glenn Close. She got to meet Glenn Close. Get to work. Get to work for the Democratic Party. Fix the Democratic Party. Get to work. There's strength in numbers. Would you like to get a hug from Fani Willis? Wouldn't you like to get a hug from Fani Willis and hear her say, it's all going to be okay? You don't get a hug from Fani Willis unless you get to work for your party, for your country. Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin pushed back a last-minute surge from her Republican challenger, Eric Hovde, and is returning to the Senate. Hovde ran a homophobic campaign against Baldwin. He's a disgrace, and he lost. Kamala Harris underperformed Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. It makes no sense to me. Democratic Congresswoman Elisa Slotkin, Democrat, won Michigan Senate seat. This is a blue seat. It was held by outgoing Democrat Debbie Stabenow. Kamala Harris underperformed Slotkin in Michigan. It makes no sense to me. 7 states voted to enshrine a woman's right to choose in their state constitutions. Florida didn't, but Missouri did. This, in case you haven't noticed, is huge. 7 states. It's not going to fix things in Texas or Florida, but as that woman said, when we fight, we win. Arizona voted to write into its state constitution a woman's right to choose, allowing pregnancy to be terminated all the way up to 24 weeks. Remember that Civil War era ban earlier in the year? Gone. Now, yes, we didn't elect a female president. It's tragic, but abortion won in Arizona. And even Donald Trump knows a national abortion ban would be a disaster for him and his party. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done, but politics is a game of inches, and reproductive freedom is winning despite Republicans controlling the Supreme Court. Also in Arizona, Iraqi war veteran Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego is leading the odious Kari Lake in the race for Kyrsten Sinema's Senate seat. With about 70% of the vote counted, Gallego holds a more than 2-point lead while waiting for a large tranche of votes from heavily Democratic Maricopa County. It looks, just like in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris is underperforming the down-ballot Senate candidates. Josh Stein, Democrat, will be the new governor of North Carolina, beating self-described black Nazi Mark Robinson by more than 14 percentage points. Now, I was completely wrong about Harris winning North Carolina because I refuse to see the possibility of ticket splitting. I refuse to believe that anybody would vote for the Democratic candidate for governor, but then pick Donald Trump for president. It doesn't make any sense to me. I just can't believe there was ticket splitting. Democrat Josh Stein is the new governor of North Carolina. I just couldn't imagine Josh Stein beating the Republican Mark Robinson by 14 points, which he did. I couldn't see him doing that without also bringing Kamala Harris over the finish line with him. I saw Stein winning in the double digits. He did. I thought there was no way Kamala Harris wouldn't be the beneficiary of reverse coattails, or as I called it, the updraft. Before Harris was even a candidate, I said Joe Biden would flip North Carolina blue because Mark Robinson was such a flawed candidate. Boggles the mind. It wasn't just North Carolina. I overestimated the updraft from other popular down-ballot Democratic candidates inside the blue wall. On the labor front, good news. The New Republic reports Arizona voted 3-1 to reject a proposal that would reduce wages for tipped employees. Labor on the march, winning nearly 58% of the vote. Delaware State Senator Sarah McBride is now the first transgender person ever elected to the United States Congress. McBride said, quote, "Tonight is a testament to Delawareans that here in our state of neighbors, we judge candidates based on their ideas and not their identities. For the first time in American history, 2 black women will serve simultaneously in the U.S. Senate. Angela also Brooks is now the new Democratic senator from Maryland, and Democratic Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester is Delaware's new senator. Eugene Vindman is going to Congress representing Virginia's 7th Congressional District. Vindman was deputy legal advisor to the National Security Council, where he served as the senior ethics official and was instrumental in blowing the whistle on Donald Trump's perfect phone call to the president of Ukraine, where Trump held up a shipment of arms in exchange for dirt on Hunter and Joe Biden. This led to Vindman's firing and Trump's first impeachment. Vindman is now a first-term congressman from Virginia. We are awash in heroes. The New Republic also reports Nebraska voted in favor of paid sick leave at big and medium-sized companies. Labor on the march. However, in reliably blue California, the New Republic reports Californians voted against Prop 6, which would have ended involuntary labor inside state prisons. That would be slavery, the loophole in the 13th Amendment. When I do a post-mortem on the election and point some fingers, I will address this. Left with no other options, Democrats are now becoming the champions of state rights and federalism. The Democratic governor of California, Gavin Newsom, after Trump's win, said, quote, "California will seek to work with the incoming president, but let there be no mistake. We intend to stand with states across our nation to defend our Constitution and uphold the rule of law." Governor Newsom added, "Federalism is the cornerstone of our democracy. It's the United States of America," unquote. What does federalism mean? Right now, for you, for me, think globally, but act locally. The state of New York will remain a bastion for freedom and the rule of law. Those are the words of New York Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul. I think it's pronounced Hochul. I'm going to go with Hochul. This year, the Manhattan District Attorney secured a conviction against Donald Trump, and the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James, won a $500 million judgment against Trump for defrauding lenders. He's appealing both decisions. Kathy Hochul is the governor of New York, a state Kamala Harris won handily. Yesterday, the New York governor promised that New York would, quote, remain a bastion for freedom and the rule of law. I will be very clear, she said, while we honor the results of this election and will work with anyone who wants to be a partner in achieving the goals of our administration and our state, that does not mean we'll accept an agenda from Washington that strips away the rights that New Yorkers have long enjoyed. She went on to say that New York will remain focused on making sure Trump and the Republican Party don't impinge upon our reproductive rights, civil rights, immigration, gun safety, labor rights, LGBTQ rights, and environmental justice. New York City's Mayor Eric Adams, currently under indictment, assured New Yorkers that he is committed to protecting reproductive freedom for all women, including those who travel to our city for an abortion. The mayor also said New York City has always supported the LGBTQ community and immigrants. The past 4 years have all been about punishing Donald Trump for his crimes. He lost every trial, but now it's different. It's no longer about sending Donald Trump to prison. It's about fortifying our defenses and making sure he cannot reverse the 4 years of incredible progress that we had under the Biden-Harris administration. For the past 4 years, we've been on offense. Get ready to play defense. It's no longer about making Donald Trump pay for his excesses and his crimes. It's about keeping what we've won. Don't be blinded by your hatred or fear of Trump, as well as the people he's surrounded by. That's what they want. We need to focus on protecting all our wins that we racked up during the past 4 years. Let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant billion of stars, said Vice President Harris during yesterday's concession speech delivered at her alma mater, Howard University. The vice president said, quote, there's an adage an historian once called a law of history, true of every society across the ages. That adage is, only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we're entering a dark time, but for the benefit of all of us, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing. America, if it is a dark time, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service. And may that work guide us, even in the face of setbacks, toward the extraordinary promise of the United States of America. Kamala Harris ran a great campaign, not a single mistake. So let's be gentle. Let's be gentle on her and with each other. When we look back, we will try to figure out what happened. Let's learn from our mistakes and move our party forward. Now, we have to move it forward and closer to the working class so that Donald Trump and his faux populists can no longer lay claim to half the people in this country for whom this economy doesn't work. There is a problem. All our yardsticks that we use to measure the success of a president leave out half the country for whom this economy doesn't work. There will be time to reimagine the Democratic Party, but gently. Solidarity. We're on the same team. Be nice to your teammates. Outgoing Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell said on Wednesday that he is certain now that his party will be in charge of the Senate, the filibuster will remain in place, which means bills that don't involve the budget or judicial appointments will still require a 60-vote majority to pass. He also said there will be no new states admitted into the union that would give one party an advantage. Obviously, he was referring to Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, which, as we all know, should be states. Well, as bad as Mitch McConnell is, I wish he remained the Republican leader in the Senate, especially now that they have the majority. I fear the alternative. McConnell, at least he's an institutionalist. The person who's going to replace him should be institutionalized. For example, the race to replace McConnell as Senate Republican leader is heating up, and Florida Republican Senator Rick Scott, who was reelected on Tuesday, says he's running for Senate Majority Leader. Scott used to run for-profit hospitals and ended up paying what at the time was the largest health care fine ever imposed by the Department of Justice. They found him guilty of ripping off Medicare and Medicaid to the tune of almost $1 billion. In the past, Rick Scott, as a senator, has proposed sundowning every government program, especially Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, every 5 years. Sundown these programs every 5 years, then ask Congress to decide whether these programs should be renewed. Well, Scott announced on Wednesday he's running for Senate Majority Leader. Nearly 50 House races, about 45, I think, right now, remain too close to call, which means it will probably be a week until we know which party gained control of the House of Representatives. I won't lie to you, it looks like the Republicans will keep control. Another thing I got wrong. Maybe. On Wednesday, Wall Street surged at the sound of the opening bell. It closed at new record highs, betting on deregulation and lower taxes with the incoming Trump administration. Meanwhile, shares in companies that produce solar energy plunged on average 12%. Some solar companies plunged 25-30% as traders bet Republicans will gain control of both houses and then begin to unwind Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which is the world's largest investment in alternative energy in history. We have to protect the migrants, we have to protect undocumented Americans, and we have to protect Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. Shares of Elon Musk's Tesla, which is a beneficiary of Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, shares of Tesla and Donald Trump's Truth Social soared on Wall Street Wednesday. During the morning rally, there's now a rumor that Twitter, owned by Elon Musk, will buy Donald Trump's Truth Social platform. Bitcoin broke through $75,000. It's a new record, and I have no idea what that means. I don't understand Bitcoin. Neither should you. Drilling for more oil and mass deportations, according to Trump's top advisors, that's what's going to top Donald Trump's agenda when he returns to the Oval Office. Now, with gas selling at about $3 a gallon, oil companies may not be too keen on drilling. In fact, when it's at $3 a gallon, they're not drilling. A lot of oil companies discovered it's easier to create an artificial scarcity of oil by not drilling. And then you charge more for it, supply and demand. So Donald Trump may be saying drill, baby, drill, but ExxonMobil is thinking, no, it's easier just to charge more for this crap. As for the mass deportations, as I said earlier, this will probably be where we see the first strike in Donald Trump's attempt to install a fascist regime, where ICE will be weaponized to turn on the American people. In our fight to save our country, our first line of defense, I believe, is in protecting the migrants and the 14 million people living here who are not citizens. We must make sure to tell their story, to make sure they're okay. Because it's the Justice Department's official policy not to prosecute a sitting president, Special Counsel Jack Smith's 2 cases against Donald Trump for election interference and mishandling classified documents will now be postponed indefinitely. The grand jury in the Fulton County, Georgia election interference trial voted to indict South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham because of the pressure he placed on election officials to reverse the 2020 presidential election results in that state. But Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who, as I said earlier, was reelected on Tuesday, she decided not to include Lindsey Graham among the 19 indicted in her RICO trial against Donald Trump and his 18 co-defendants. He cannot pardon himself out of this RICO trial. We will see. Before Donald Trump's victory speech Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, Lindsey Graham tweeted a message to Special Counsel Jack Smith, as well as his office. Lindsey Graham said, "It is time to look forward to a new chapter in your legal careers as these politically motivated charges against President Trump hit a wall. The Supreme Court substantially rejected what you were trying to do." No, they didn't. He goes on to say, "And after tonight, it's clear the American people are tired of lawfare." You mean enforcing what's on the books? Lindsey went on to say, "Bring these cases to an end. The American people deserve a refund," unquote. Judge Juan Merchan, who presided over the Manhattan criminal trial earlier this year, where Trump was found guilty on 34 counts of hiding hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels, Judge Juan Merchan will decide next week whether to remove Trump's conviction in light of the Supreme Court's July 1st ruling on presidential immunity. Now, Trump was convicted here of a state crime, and it remains to be seen whether the Supreme Court's ruling applies to Judge Merchan's jurisdiction. Plus, I'm pretty sure paying hush money to a porn star doesn't fall under the protective umbrella of presidential immunity. He was not performing an official act as president. If Judge Juan Merchan decides not to throw the case out, Trump is due inside Merchan's courtroom November 26 for sentencing. Trump's lawyers are asking to postpone the sentencing because they're appealing the verdict. E. Jean Carroll, who was awarded $88.3 million this year after 2 separate juries ruled that Donald Trump had sexually assaulted and then defamed her, took to Twitter after Trump won, and she wrote, "I tried to tell you." This is E. Jean Carroll. Where is she? Where is E. Jean Carroll? Where is she? Well, as my mother would say, but you're tired. You're scared. Look at E. Jean Carroll and then tell me you're scared. You're exhausted. That you don't want to pay attention to the news anymore. During an interview with National Public Radio on Wednesday, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the Trump administration will urge local municipalities to stop putting fluoride in tap water. Federal government does not control water. This is federalism. Remember? Robert F. Kennedy also promised Trump had no plans to take vaccines away from anyone, but would make certain that Americans get the information they need to make decisions on which vaccines to get. Yes. Appearing on the CBS daytime talk show The Talk, former Tonight Show host Jay Leno called Tuesday, quote, a great day for democracy. Leno added he's no fan of Trump, but that, quote, there was no cheating and everybody said it was honest. Everybody said it was honest because Trump won. That's why the Republicans said it was honest. Yes, a great day for democracy when people vote to get rid of it. Good on you, Jay Leno. Former President George W. Bush congratulated Trump on his win and said, quote, the strong turnout in this election is a sign of the health of our republic and the strength of our democratic institutions. Well, at least he's consistent. Well, just for that statement alone, we have to work doubly hard to make sure that George W. Bush, Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, but George W. Bush remains the worst president in American history. Trump was horrible. Trump was horrible. Still not as horrible as George W. Bush. So let's make sure it stays that way, that George W. Bush is still the worst president, worse than Donald Trump. President Biden called Trump to congratulate him on his victory and invited the former and soon-to-be president to the White House while promising a smooth transfer of power. The head of the United Auto Workers, Sean Fain, who endorsed Kamala Harris, released a statement urging victorious Republicans to side with labor. He asked, quote, will our government stand with the working class or keep doing the bidding of the billionaires? That's the question we face today, and that's the question we'll face tomorrow. The answer lies with us, no matter who's in office. We've said all along that no matter who is in the White House, our fight remains the same, unquote. In September of 2023, Joe Biden became the first American president ever to join a picket line when he marched with striking auto workers. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky called Donald Trump Wednesday and congratulated him on his win. Zelensky described the call as excellent. I think Trump would have preferred the word perfect. Viktor Orban, the authoritarian leader of Hungary and Putin flunky, announced he spoke to Trump, personally adding, quote, we have big plans for the future. I'm sure you do. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman called Donald Trump to congratulate him on his victory. MBS says he looks forward to working with the new president and added, by the way, I gave Jared Kushner $1 billion to invest, and so far he hasn't paid me even a dividend, so you owe me, Donald. MBS added, I have a bone saw with your son-in-law's name on it. He didn't say that, but he implied it. Well, we're still waiting on the Senate race in Pennsylvania. With 98.3% of the vote counted, Democrat Bob Casey, the incumbent, is down by 0.4 of a percentage point. 30,000 votes out of 6.6 million. He's losing by 30,000 votes. This has a good chance of triggering a recount. We probably won't know the final results until the middle of November. But again, Kamala Harris seems to be underperforming the down-ballot Democratic candidates. Trump got more total votes in Pennsylvania than any Republican in history. He matched Ronald Reagan's percentage. Kamala Harris's vote totals in Philadelphia are said to be the lowest for a Democrat in 2 decades. Makes no sense. The chairman of Philadelphia's Democratic Party told the Philadelphia Inquirer that he refuses to take responsibility and said the poor performance falls on the shoulders of Kamala Harris. Quote, they never dealt with us. They didn't show us any respect. I never talked to the lady, and she's the candidate. What a class act this guy is. She became the candidate 3 months ago, and you're upset because she didn't show you any respect? How about you shut the F up, do your job, and show her respect? This prick reminds me of Ed Rendell, who was governor of Pennsylvania. He was also chairman of the Democratic National Committee when Gore was running against Bush in 2000. The Supreme Court hadn't even handed the election to Bush, and Ed Rendell was already throwing Al Gore under the bus, going on television talking about what a lousy candidate Al Gore was. How about some solidarity? Senator Bernie Sanders was reelected in the state of Vermont on Tuesday. Although he campaigned for Harris, her campaign moved decidedly away from his progressive wing of the party in the lead up to Election Day, with some in the Harris campaign quietly accusing Bernie of pulling Joe Biden too far to the left. They said Bernie Sanders is no longer the kingmaker in this party. Sanders wasted no time lashing out at the party leadership on Wednesday. Sanders said it would come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that the working class has abandoned them. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Bernie added, first it was the white working class, now it is Latino and black workers as well. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they are right. Comedy writer and director Adam McKay, who's responsible for such classics as Don't Look Up and The Big Short, said after Trump's victory, quote, who would have guessed lying about Biden's cognitive health for 2 years, refusing to do an open convention for a new nominee, never mentioning public health care, and embracing fracking, the Cheneys, and a year-long slaughter of children in Gaza wouldn't be a winning strategy. Sarcasm. David Sirota, who's been on this show, he also helped write Don't Look Up. He served as a speechwriter for Bernie Sanders, and he runs The Lever or The Lever. I apologize. I subscribe to The Lever or The Lever, L-E-V-E-R, but I read, I don't hear the pronunciation. You should all subscribe to the L-E-V-E-R. David Sirota said, this is a very bad night. Some of us spent years warning Democrats to take working class politics more seriously and to not tout neoconservatives. We did so in hopes of avoiding this, and yet we were vilified as traitors by Democratic elites and liberal pundits. There's a lesson here, unquote. Do you agree? Do you agree with that? Leave a comment. We'll do a post-mortem. Do you agree with that? The French newspaper Le Monde condemned American voters. In an editorial on Wednesday, the paper said, this time they made an informed decision. In 2016, when they first entrusted him with the White House, American voters didn't know what a Donald Trump presidency would be like, and were taking a leap into the unknown. In 2024, the situation is different. Not only do Republican voters know their candidate inside out, right down to his least glorious behavior, he's even more radical than he was 8 years ago. Trump's electorate knows where this president is going to take them, and they want more. Le Monde goes on to write, it's a reality that needs to be examined with eyes wide open. The path on which Trump, strengthened for his second term by his party's success in the Senate, will take his country diverges fundamentally from the one charted by the United States since the end of the Second World War. It marks the end of an American era, that of an open superpower committed to the world, eager to set itself up as a democratic model. It's the famous shining city on a hill extolled by President Ronald Reagan. The model had been challenged over the past 2 decades. Now, Trump's return is putting a nail in its coffin. Do you agree? Leave a comment. Catherine Viner is editor-in-chief of The Guardian, a position she's held since June of 2015. On Wednesday, she wrote in a piece entitled, "How the Guardian Will Stand Up to 4 More Years of Donald Trump." She wrote, "Now, with Trump months away from taking office again, with dramatic implications for wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, the health of American democracy, reproductive rights, inequality, and perhaps most of all, our collective environmental future, it's time for us to redouble our efforts to hold the president-elect and those who surround him to account." She wrote that last week, The Guardian's United States media columnist Margaret Sullivan spelled out in black and white the threat to a free press from another Trump presidency. Trump, Margaret Sullivan wrote, poses a clear threat to journalists, to news organizations, and to press freedom in the United States and around the world, unquote. Viner went on to write, Trump has for years stirred up hatred against reporters, calling them an enemy of the people, and referred to legitimate journalism as fake news. Kash Patel, a potential Trump pick for FBI director or attorney general, she said, has told people we're going to come after people in the media, unquote. And Project 2025, the blueprint for a second Trump presidency, includes plans to make it easier to seize journalists' emails and phone records. The editor-in-chief of The Guardian concluded, "We will stand up to these threats, but it will take brave, well-funded, independent journalism. It will take reporting that can't be leaned upon by a billionaire owner terrified of retribution from a bully in the White House," unquote. I call on all my listeners to support The Guardian, the Associated Press, David Sirota's The Lever, L-E-V-E-R, The Nation, The New Republic, Amy Goodman. Support independent journalists. I'll have a list of more independent magazines like Capitol Hill Citizen that you should all read and support. I will tell you about them in the days and weeks to come. If you're one of the more than 250,000 readers who canceled their subscription to the Washington Post because its owner, Jeff Bezos, killed an editorial endorsing Kamala Harris, I urge you to renew your subscription. Do not punish the Washington Post. Punish Amazon. We need the Washington Post. And finally, what happened Tuesday is not who we are. Take a deep breath. Are you safe? Do you feel safe? Do you feel physically and emotionally safe? If you feel physically and emotionally safe, then ask, are you financially safe? If the answer to all 3 of those questions is yes, then go find someone who isn't safe. Be their hero. Be a hero to just one person. For your own sanity, be a hero to just one person. And if you don't feel safe, look for a hero. Ask for help. There's no need right now to draw attention to yourself at work or on the street or when you're driving or when you're out in public. Your politics is your business, and there is a time and a place to express yourself. Getting into it right now on the granular level is a waste of time, and it's not safe. Do not argue politics with people who disagree with you. Now, we made large gains in the past 4 years. This may be the backlash. The size of Trump's victory may be telling us how monumental the gains were during the past 4 years. Our mission is to hold on to those gains. We're on defense, eye on the prize. At Thanksgiving, tell your MAGA uncle, hey, congratulations, you won. And try to mean it. Don't fight or hate him. He's not worth it. Channel that energy into phone banking, knocking on doors. Channel your disappointment, your depression, your rage, and your anger into working for and fixing the Democratic Party for your own sanity and safety. Work with the Democratic Party. There is security and sanity in numbers. Check your privilege, as my children taught me. I didn't know what check your privilege meant until my kids set me straight. Check your privilege. Ask who will be the most vulnerable moving forward, and how can you protect them and be their hero. Remember, you protect yourself when you protect others. Try not to get arrested. Try not to get arrested. If you're drinking, smoking dope, please don't get behind the wheel of a car. Do not make yourself an easy mark for the police. Don't get into it with the police. Trump is an abuser, and the people around him are very triggering. I get that. So you need to protect yourself. Dr. King didn't get into flame wars on Twitter. He didn't give in to road rage. He didn't give in to road rage. He focused on the prize. I know we're all disheartening. I'm literally sick to my stomach. Watch the movie Apollo 13. Work the problem. What do we have in the way of good? And go with that. Work the problem, like NASA says, and focus on what we have in the way of good. Focus less on what Trump and his people say, and focus more on what he does. He's going to be saying one thing, but doing another. His supporters listen to what he says. We need to pay attention to what he does. I will try to play fewer video clips of Trump talking. Moving forward, I will try to report on what he does, less on what he says. And when he does say something, I will try not to play his voice. I will just repeat it verbatim or put it maybe in the mouths of some of my animated characters. I am hopeful. I believe the best is yet to come. This is a large country with nearly 20,000 cities and 20,000 individual police departments. More than 20,000 police departments. We have 50 states. And while Trump can indeed try to seize control of the executive branch and perhaps both chambers of Congress, it's time to embrace federalism, states' rights, and let's celebrate the power of community outside Donald Trump's sphere of influence. We may not be able to depend on Washington. So we're going to have to depend on our cities, our states, our counties, and each other. The president, I need not remind you, the president has at his disposal many emergency powers. Trump will probably invoke a few. Be prepared. Pay your taxes. Try not to get arrested. Ask your black friends about the talk they have with their children about dealing with the police, and take it to heart. Ask your black friends about the talk they have with their children about dealing with the police. Be wary of anyone who has physical power over you. If we don't give them an opportunity to use their physical power on us, they will use it on themselves. This is not how things are. This is not normal. This is only temporary. The world changes very quickly. We have no idea what's in the cards. Expect the worst. Enjoy the surprises. Now is not the time to say we as a people deserve this. We don't. Pay attention to the bad news, but go with the good news. Pay attention to the bad news, but feed off the good news. Pay attention, but pace yourself. We've been here before. Fascists thrive on chaos and confusion. They want us exhausted. Do not engage on a personal level with Trump supporters, either on social media or at Thanksgiving. It accomplishes nothing. And I know personally, I'm going to start with myself. I need to do a better job exercising more, drinking less coffee, being around friends and relatives, and hating less. I get a kick out of hating. Hating Trump and the MAGA morons, it's a fool's errand. Hatred clouds our judgment and jams our spirit. Let me remind you, we all like attention, especially me, but performative excess isn't enough and won't cut it now. We don't need performative excess. It's time to play chess. Certain people, especially in the next 3 months, are going to feel empowered. Don't engage with them. Just say, hey, you won, fair and square. The people have spoken, which unfortunately I think is true. So it's not like he seized power. Take solace in the fact that, from what I can tell, he won. So congratulate them. Do not pick fights with Trump supporters. They won. Leave them alone. Let them fight among themselves. Support the weakest around you and gain strength, empowerment through like-minded people. Build a community. A community is 3 people. 2 people is not a community. Three is a community. If you can get three people to get along, spend time together, and not break off, making 1/3 of the group feel isolated or paranoid, that's a community. If you can get three children to play well together, that's a community. Who are the most vulnerable right now? Focus on who we need to take care of. The dreamers, the migrants, the undocumented Americans, women, the LGBTQ community, especially the transgender community, the physically disabled, people who have emotional issues, mental health issues, and of course, the children. Figure out what you want. Focus only on what you want. Ask who in your life you must take care of and who is just draining you of all your energy. Be a hero. Be a hero. Thank God for an opportunity to be a hero. And never forget the immortal words of Trump's very first press secretary, Sean Spicer.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
You are a liar, period. I'm David Feldman, reminding you from the bottom of my broken heart to stay strong and protect the weak. Thank you for listening to me. I'm sorry that I had my hopes up about this election. There is good news to come. There was, look for the good news. There's good news to come. Please like this episode. Please share it. Thank you to Bob and Mila in the chat room for keeping the conversation dignified. And thank you for all your comments. I got a lot of nice emails and comments from some listeners who were concerned about me. As Joe Biden would say, get back up. Get back up. As my mother would say, you're tired. You're scared. Think of E. Jean Carroll. Every time you're scared, think of E. Jean Carroll. Every time you're exhausted, think of Fani Willis. No show tomorrow. It's my daughter's birthday. I'll do a show the next day. Thank you. It is a privilege to be able to talk with you. Thank you.